the intro music. Yeah! Woohoo!
Hey everybody, welcome back to the videos where today taking a look at, well, Strange New World Hemmer. But honestly, I'm going to go ahead and let you know this video is going to be a little bit more expansive as we kind of are covering the new way to grind hostiles in general. And this video, warning, will contain math. I'm sorry, it will. I try not to be that guy. I know it's, who likes math? Like, we got out of high school so we can avoid doing math in real life. Who wants to do math? Nobody. How many accountants are really out there? Who people are really clicking on But yes, we're going to do math today, but we're going to give you the bare answer. Why he works, what he doesn't do well, what he can be great at, and why he is in fact either your brand new, definite, the answer hostile grinding crew, or maybe he's just a secondary crew. We're going to go over those various layers here in today's video. So with the basics, let's actually cover what Hemmer does. I think that's probably a good starting point, which is no captain's ability. He is another one of these lower deck style officers where no captain's ability, only officers and below, which honestly I have no problem with. He's chief engineer. That's technically below deck. Cool? Cool. Nobody's got a problem with it. Fixed when it's broken. Strange New World Hemmer increases the armor, shield deflection, and dodge by 800% of the total health of your officers when in combat with hostile survey ships. So he is the answer for grinding, regular grinding. If you're a faction grinder or you're just going out grinding ships, he is now the answer, mainly to give you max mitigation. We'll talk about, remember that word, it's very important. So this is what he does. Now, in terms of scale, we'll talk about scale up in just a second, but let's take a look at this first, which is the next ability. This is the below deck ability. I honestly don't ever see people putting him below deck, but here it is. Increases the health of all officers of the ship by 70% of their base value. The reason I said that, by the way, simply comes down to he is a bridge officer. Like, he is that's where his value's at. And I don't really see anybody changing that. Now, here's full stats from him from Star Trek Fleet Command, or STFC.space. I guess sometimes I just want to say it out all the way. You can see where he maxes out at. You can see where he goes. But honestly, he's one of the few officers that tier 1 for most players will immediately do exactly what you want them to do, which is give you max mitigation. Many people have gotten familiar with Pike Moreau Chin. In this scenario, he would be the Moreau of the layouts. If you were to run a full synergy crew with Hemmer, he's the mitigation officer. How about we take a look at that in the field? Now, I've been doing tests for the past week. If you were on our live stream, we did several in the Enterprise and the Augur. But today I decided in the Mayflower. Now, you're going to see battle logs from a wide variety. So don't worry if you're like, oh, well, Rev, you're just looking at low levels. He's a high level card. I know. Okay. It's not lost on me. I understand. He's a high level card. But on Twitch, we did a lot of testing for the average player. You know, the player in the low 30s or the low 40s, anywhere in that range where the bulk is there actual value to this for those players? And there actually is. And I took it out in a Mayflower to kind of prove that and show that. Now, what I did is I ran a direct comparison. For science, I have 2 maxed Mayflowers, so they're identical in their officer bonuses and everything else. All the research is obviously identical. It's not comparing an Augur to an Enterprise, just Mayflowers. 1 running PMC, 1 running Strange New World Hemmer. And as you would probably assume, or at least hopefully you would assume, PMC won. Like, PMC was the better of the 2. But that doesn't mean that Strange New World Hemmer and company were bad. In fact, here, I actually have logs. If you remember, we used spocks.club yesterday, talking about the amazing things spocks.club can do, but we're gonna do that again today. We're gonna look at several different log layouts. This one, going over Hemmer on a Mayflower and compared it. Now, look at the top. Estimated kills per hull, 166.9 with PMC, and 29.9 with the Strange New World full synergy crew. I do want to point out, this is not negative. Like, if I would have just run out with a PvP crew, Yuki, Marcus, Khan on that Mayflower, I would not have gotten 30 hulls. I would not have. It's just not going to happen. I do also want to point out that my Pike is tier 2. Now, that actually has some importance. And this is where I was talking about, hey, in this video, we're going to cover a little bit about the new PVE grinding and the meta as it stands today, because there's a few different layers of this. Hemmer is amazing at what he's supposed to do, which is give you maximum mitigation. However, if you can't do what Pike Moreau Chin do, you have to find a way to account for that. And part of that accounting is Pike. Now, mine is tier 2. So you see right here is a 15% change to hostile shield damage transfer. But at max, that's 35%. And that actually could make a pretty significant difference. So here's the one catch. If you're running Pike Hemmer Spock. So Spike, which would be Strange New World Pike, Spike here with Hemmer. The issue you're going to run into is if your shields fall, you're going to take a lot of damage. That's the problem with this set. You've got to overcome that. This goes into explaining how PMC works. And we do this a lot, and I decided to just go ahead and make a graphic for it. And here's the graphic. So this is the STFC math explaining how Pike Moreau Chin actually work. So this is actually just explaining the damage reduction, because you hear content creators like myself will talk about, hey, there's a 96% damage reduction when using PMC, and people are like, how the heck did you get that? Well, here's the math. So if you have that top formula right there, I've even color coded it. 30 is Chin's ability. So a max Chin is a 30% reduction in energy weapons for opponents, so hostiles. So when you would hit a traitor, which is what we're talking about Hemmer being used against, you're starting with that. Then you have to multiply that by the synergy of Pike with Moreau. So that's 120% along with the base. You add those together, so that makes 2.2. And then once you've multiplied 30 times 2.2, what do you get? 66. And then plus 30. 30 being the research, which is defense tactics in the very beginning of your research tree and the combat tree. That's how you get the 96% reduction. Now, this does not actually include the fact that you also get max mitigation from PMC. This is just the damage reduction part. So a visual that I decided to make for this is to actually make another graphic talking about Hemmer. So I did, in theory, if you had a traitor that was dealing 1 million damage, how much of that damage would make it to your hull? How much damage would make it to your hull? That's important, right? So PMC, we had step one. Step one is your research and any type of officer ability. So that would be what we just talked about, that damage reduction. So we're going to multiply that by 4% because it's only going to have 4% remaining. 100% minus 96% is 4. So 40,000. The next step, so step 2 in that equation up there, is where you get into mitigation. We talk about needing maximum mitigation. Hemmer can give you maximum mitigation, as does Moreau, which means max mitigation in this game is 71.2. So we're going to multiply by 0.288, gives us 11,520. And then the final step, so step 3, are the shields. Remember, shields, when they're up, stop 80% of any non-mitigated damage. So anything that wasn't dealt with in step 2 gets dealt with in step 3. So normally that's 80-20 ratio. So then you would multiply by 0.2 and you get 2,304. That's how PMC would work. A 1 million power shot would be all the way down to 2,300. Now here's how Hemmer would work with a full synergized Hemmer crew. Now this is just taking a shot, though. It's just defensive. Step 1, same process. So this time we're multiplying by 0.7 because we don't have Chin. We don't have the Pike Moreau synergy. All we have is that one research. So 0.7, 700,000. We're making progress though. Step 2, mitigation. Same thing as step 2 before. Now we're down to 201,000. And then this one is where it gets a little bit different because where we talked about Pike. Remember how we said Pike is important here? Full synergy Pike raises your shield damage transfer rate by 14% with max synergy, bringing you to 94%, which means you then multiply by 6 means that you took 12,000. So both of these crews, as you can see mathematically, doing a very good job defending your ship and allowing you to survive. And rough mathing it. And hey, if you enjoy the math, hit that like button. Oh yeah. And let's go back real quick. Just rough mathing. Remember that log that we just took a look at? Because math-wise here, this is about what, 5.5 times better. That's about what PMC is, about 5.5 times better. What do the logs back that up? Well, looky there, they do. It's about 5.5 times better. Now, the real key with Hemmer here is understanding that this crew is designed for higher level players, for higher level hostile grinding. That doesn't mean it has no value to you. Actually has a lot of value. And what I want to do now is go through a series of logs showing you the different ways that you can move this around, okay? I really enjoy going through this process and I encourage you to check this out. And honestly, we're in the middle of the video almost. Leave comments. I want to know what you think so far. Hopefully the math of this is not so boring that you go, oh God, Rev, shut up. Just tell me if it works. It does. I just want you to understand why it works. Because there were some misconceptions when Hemmer came out that this was going to replace PMC. And I was always sitting here like, no, 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 but secondary. Okay. So we looked at the Mayflower versus 39. Let's go up a tier. How about this? Hemmer on a tier 3 enterprise. Look at Rev being relatable. Ha! A tier 3 enterprise. I showed you 3 different crews here. So the first crew is PMC, estimated kills per hull. These are going against level 42 traders, by the way. This is a low-end deep space trader versus a tier 3. I want there to be a little bit of a discrepancy there. So 32.8. Next on the slide, you would see the Enterprise. There's Pike, Hemmer, and then Kirk. Now, one thing that you'll notice here, and remember I talked about your shield staying up is important. When your shields go down, you start taking a crap ton of damage, which is exactly what you see to the far right. The tier 3 Enterprise couldn't keep its shields up, so it only got 1 kill in before it was done. It was toasty. And that was full synergy. But with Kirk, you could actually extend that going against a bigger hostile. Now, shout out to EcoBoost Engine. Yes, the community manager of the game. He was actually there the night on Twitch. We were doing live testing. And his suggestion was, let's try it with the Augur with Giorgio. Similar math there. Giorgio boosting the damage helped out because you didn't lose shields and you ended the fight quicker. And this actually is where, me and DJ were talking about. This is why it's important to keep those shields up. Now, there are ways to do that. Rutherford, the below deck officer, the lower deck officer, can increase your shield health. Exocomps can increase your damage. The key is if you're trying to punch higher than you normally would be, like a tier 3 Enterprise is not designed to be in low deep space. So it shouldn't be fighting 42s. If you're a level 34 player with a 33 and your rep is pretty much where most people's are at your area, you're probably hitting, 36s, 37s. And what you're going to notice there is that the crew on the right, that full synergy crew, starts performing similar to how this one did here with the Mayflower. You're actually going to get plenty of kills because your shields never drop. And as long as you're able to keep those shields up, you're going to have a very good secondary crew. But you saw it fall off a little bit here. Let's go up a tier. Let's go up to the Newton. Let's start taking a look at what this thing looks like versus the high-level hostiles it was designed to fight. Now, I'll always talk about, hey, this wasn't going to replace Pike Chin. But what if I showed you an example of it doing just that? And that's what it does here against a level 51 Belosian miner. That's what they farm up in the deep areas, if you were curious. You start going to Belosian miners. Well, this is level 51. You'll notice Pike, you notice a slew of crews here. You've got Pike Chin, you've got Picard Beverly Chin, which works the exact same way, by the way, as well as a few different other crews. You notice the one with the best results is actually the full synergy Hemmer crew. 79 kills versus PMC getting 42, and the same type of result for your friend over there on the left, Picard. Keep in mind that there's a little bit of variance here, and you will find a little bit different balance, but this is where you start seeing it flip, because this is what they were designed to do, take on these bigger hostiles. But keep in mind what we just talked about in the previous segment. The key is, and this is why I love doing this on Twitch, because we have hours to go through this data. The key is, can you produce enough damage and keep your shields up to where that max mitigation and that still works? Let's go up another tier, 52s. See, it starts to flip now for this Newton. This Newton can't keep up with the Pike Chin. In terms of the high volume, it's still the best, but starts to trickle down a little bit. It went from killing 70 now down to 39. And you see some of the other crews that are very common for hostile grinding. I want to point out, for those curious, the crew right here on your left is actually your dominant hostile grinding crew before the Strange New World came out. 5 Kirk, Gorkon, or 5 Khan, Gorkon, or 5 Khan Kang was the most common anti-hostile run before Strange New Worlds, which is why they're included with a couple of other ones. Now, let's go up to a 53. This is where the Newton just really isn't packing enough punch to keep out or to keep up. And you see it starts to really fall off here, only getting 1 kill versus 53. Far right, you see that crew we talked about doing better. Again, shields and damage. Are you able to keep up with this? Now I want to go even bigger. This is changing to a Sanctus. This is a high-level player. I think JB is level 58 now. And this is showing the Sanctus going against a 57 Belosian. Again, look on the far right, the Strange New World crew getting 48 kills. Now, one thing that we wanted to make clear as a visual example here is that the crew on the far right is actually very interesting, because even though it only took 25 kills, it actually produces more rep. Remember, 5 of 11 as an officer actually gives you a bonus to not only the loot that drops, but to the rep that drops as well. So if you're a higher level player, mixing in Spike with Hemmer and then putting 5 next to him, as long as you're getting your max mitigation, could be the best bet if you're rep grinding. Everybody knows the grind up to 15 billion for those epic ships at level 60 is insane, let alone the grind to 1 billion, which is what I'm currently on. So just some interesting math notes for y'all to go through and consider as we discuss. And this is a longer video. I typically don't go this long, but Because this game is changing so much when it comes to the meta or just how we play certain styles, including PvE, I thought it was important to go through these various details and just to show off my very, very pretty Mayflower. But real quick to throw back on the screen here, this is Hemmer, how he works. These are all of his numbers, his totals. And if you've got Hemmer, he's useful. If you don't have Hemmer, he's going to be useful. No matter what, Hemmer is a fantastic card and a fantastic crew. He gives you max mitigation. He also improves synergy on Pike. And the better your Strange New World Pike gets, the better that crew will perform. And because he's 800% at tier 1, he's basically good out the box. Almost every player can stack enough stats to go against a corresponding trader of their level and have max mitigation, which is very, very important. How important is it, or why is it important? Well, let me go back to the original graphic that we were talking about right there. This is the Hemmer graphic. Remember that one in step 2, that 0.288? That's you having max mitigation. So that's you reducing the amount of damage that they're doing. This is very important to get to. Hemmer is very, very important to get to. And while he might not outperform this guy, if you're like a level 34 player, because of the math, still very important to have, very useful to have, and hopefully you've enjoyed this longer video. And if you have, smash the like button. I'd actually really appreciate it. It looks like this. Thumbs up. You can smack it, hit subscribe, and ring that little bell to get notified every time we go live. Well, you can have more information at your fingertips at all times. Also, if you'd be so kind, leave me comments about what you think and what you would like to see coming forward, because I know people are griping at me about these 42, 43 videos, but I'll be honest, the way the economy is changing and even things coming, I'm rethinking some of the plans, and that's part of the delay. But y'all let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Also, all the graphics I've used today will be available in my Discord if you need them for your alliance to explain how things work. Live long and prosperous. Stay safe with their Space Cowboys. Deuces, that's me. Catch you on the next exciting Star Trek Fleet Command video. I'm out.
An even better outro than the intro. For the Empire and glory to your house.